Everybody, here we are. In April, spring is here, and in and amongst the snow, we have spring flowers and blossoms on the trees and plenty of sneezes. The things that I'm most allergic to are tree pollen. So this is my season for reacting to the spring in addition to enjoying it. And I hope we can have some good work going on amongst the members of the county. And I know we have a lot going on. I put out an agenda for this afternoon that I hope is inclusive of anything that somebody might have wanted to say, but certainly there's also time to share whatever was not officially on the agenda. Just let us know, and we'll be able to take care of that. So first off, now that we have a quorum, we can approve the minutes, actually for 2 meetings, because the last meeting we were under quorum and couldn't officially approve the meetings from February. So I would like to now call for an approval of the minutes from February. A motion to do so.
So moved.
Okay, second on that?
I'll second.
Very good. Okay. It's difficult to vote in these situations to actually, yeah, because I can't see everybody's hands here. So how about if I just call for objections to consensus on this? Any? And hearing none and no corrections there, so we'll declare it approved for February. So similarly, the minutes from March, I'd like a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Okay, and any objections to approving those as written? Any corrections, additions, etc.? Okay, thanks everybody. I'll declare those approved as well. And now I'd like to hear from the folks who were administering the run-up to the Good Earthkeeping Awards. Are we ready to express where we're at with that? I was hoping to hear that we're ready to accept nominations. Kara, was that you?
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm late to the call. Just trying to keep up. We do have Maureen, thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
We have a link, and I'll put it in the chat box. And I can share my screen if I don't know how many people are actually on computers.
17.
Kara, could you email it as well? Because once the meeting's
Yes.
over, we'll lose the link.
So yes, so I'll put it in the chat box, and essentially it lists the categories. It has a little bit of history on the Good Earthkeeping Award and the categories for nominations. So there's a youth group. There's 2 categories for youth. That's between the ages of 13 and 17. And then there's 4 categories for adults age 18 and above, individual, group, business, and education. And then we just need some contact information, of course, for the nominee and for the nominator. And if you can give a brief description of why you're nominating that particular individual, group, or business, etc., that would be great. And then Rick, even though we haven't touched base with you, I just got off the phone with Sarah. So we will have our next EMC meeting in May is on the 24th. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we will have all the nominations at our May meeting. And then as far as some sort of Zoom call acknowledging the nominees and some sort of celebratory event around that, if it's all right with you, we'll announce that in May, because at this point it's to be determined. And then also, lastly, we will have a press release probably Friday to go out in Columbia County at the latest Monday. We have to get it to Patrice by the end of this week. So Maureen, while you're on the call, Maureen, we'll have it to you. I haven't been able to open those zip files you sent, Michael, because they're in Publisher.
Oh, that's right.
Publisher.
Well, as soon as we get off this meeting, I'll see if I can convert them to something else.
Office would be great if you can, if it's not too much trouble. But yeah,
and see if I can affect them. I have other versions of that suite of programs, and I'll see if one of my applications will do the trick, unless somebody else is more experienced with these systems and can do it a little more easily than I can. Okay, I'll take it on.
all right.
I'll get
So
that to you.
that's it, folks. I'll put the link right now in the chat box, and I'll send an email to the group with the link, so you'll all have it. The deadline for nominations is going to be May 17th. So that will be in the email as well.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I have.
And can I just say that we count on the rest of the council to distribute the nomination form around and encourage people to fill it out and send it in?
Yes.
It's not like we have a big marketing budget here.
Yeah.
This has got to be done, at a very grassroots level, and
Right.
we're the roots.
Could you
Right.
make the press release available too, so we could like in our town newsletter?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if we could probably put the press release in my backyard and get it in the various news sources as well. So
Yep. Great.
and but do share with your climate smart committees also. Share it around
Indeed.
your network.
Okay, Carol, while we have you on the line, how about a word for Solarize Chatham?
Oh, so the town of Chatham has a climate smart committee, and Rick, you're on that climate smart committee, right? And and they established a task force for a campaign around Solarize, which is really an outreach campaign for this campaign for community solar, and they vetted several companies and took proposals and interviews, and COVID kind of slowed things down a bit, and there was an election, some stuff going on in Chatham, so it was a lengthy process, but then the idea behind Solarize, because community solar is not like an energy supply company arrangement, it's a little confusing for a lot of people to understand. That it requires a bit of education, and because of deregulated energy in New York, it can be a difficult conversation. So they, when a town kind of does some vetting and says, okay, well, we've examined the facts and we went with these companies, they're doing it on behalf of the people of the town, right? Because when you don't know who to trust, typically you don't do anything. And so when a trusted leader has done their due diligence on this front, it can build legitimacy around that effort. And then it's working side by side with town leaders. And anyways, so that's going on through August 7th, perhaps with an extension. And there's there's two companies, there's Delaware River Solar and Astral Power that are doing the campaign. Delaware River Solar is a developer that does customer acquisition for their solar farms. And then Astral Power is a customer acquisition firm that works with multiple developers across New York State. And I will send out to you both, or to the group, slide decks on the program if you'd like, that are circulated.
That'd be great.
Carol, what towns are included in this program? Is it just
So
Chatham?
it's the town of Chatham, which includes most of the village of Chatham, but it's being labeled as Chatham area residents. So if somebody's in Valatia or Kinderhook or Canaan, they're welcome to participate. Nobody wants, the town of Chatham is being delicate with this because they don't want to step on any other neighboring towns' efforts to do a similar type of campaign. But suffice to say, it's open to Chatham area residents and small businesses.
Good. Okay. What electric company serves Chatham?
So that would be NYSEG and National Grid.
Oh, they have both? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that is options. They've split the town
Yeah,
between them.
Yeah, the Valatia North Chatham side is National Grid.
okay. But we have a similar one in New Lebanon. It's almost the exact same thing.
Yep.
Very good. So if I can clarify for myself, what you're encouraging people to do is to sign up for one of two shared solar community solar systems where you essentially buy or rent a share of a large solar installation
Sort of.
that will then be credited against your usage.
But sort of, they just take over the billing. I mean, Carol will explain it better than me.
Yeah, so community solar actually came about in 2016 when the Climate Leadership Community Protection Act was passed, and it's modeled after some other programs in other states, which is really, as a means to get more renewable energy that's produced here in New York State on the grid, right? So the overarching goal is to get to some of these targets of 70% renewable energy and 100% renewable energy by 2030 and 2040. So that's the overarching goal. And then you have a vast percentage of the population will never have solar on their property. So they won't be contributing renewable energy. So if you build these projects, so it's really public policy meets private enterprise to a large extent. So there's developers, some have been in the renewable energy space, some haven't. There's private equity groups, there's Wall Street, there's huge money. I mean, these projects are multi-million-dollar projects. They take, upwards of 3 years from conception to construction to build. But this is meant to be, and in the early days of community solar, there was the ability to purchase a share of a solar farm. That business model has really not taken off so well, but for a variety of barriers and issues that came up. Great in concept, but didn't really take off. So by and large, it's subscription based. So you're subscribing to solar farm, which is essentially there's going to be a transfer of electricity from the solar farm to the grid, to the utility company where the solar farm is. The utility company, so there's this injection of renewable energy, which has value, right? And then the utility passes back to the solar farm owner, credits, which are then electronically then passed back to the subscriber at a discounted rate. So there's, over the course of a year, you can expect to save maybe 10% on your electricity costs, which is maybe equivalent to a month of free electricity a year. So it's not earth-shattering, the savings. The savings is the incentive, kind of the carrot to drive consumers to subscribe, because by subscribing, you're going to create demand. And the more demand for renewable energy, theoretically, the less need for, fossil fuel generated electricity. So, but there's no, most contracts you can give a 10% savings. There are a few companies that offer 5% savings, and you can cancel with some notice. You don't own it, you don't lease it. It's really there's a percentage of the production from this solar farm is being earmarked for you until you choose to cancel. So, so that's it in a nutshell. I hope I didn't talk too much.
I just wanted to add a couple things with the
Sure.
Solaris campaign. The one you're dealing with typically has an incentive for the town as well. So for each subscriber, you might get $100 towards a project. I'm not sure what Astro Power is doing, but like we every time we get a subscriber, the company will give $100 because we're trying to get solar panels for our town hall. So they're contributing to that fund. And there was one other thing I wanted to say, but I forgot what it was. Oh, I mean, what it looks like for the consumer is basically you're just getting your bill from somebody else. I mean, rather than getting billed by NYSEG, you'll get billed by this other company. It used to be there were two bills and it was more complicated, but I believe, Kara can correct me if I'm wrong, that it's become a single bill and you don't even see it just looks like you're getting a bill from somebody else.
Well, the
So-
single bill, though, would come from
The
your
utility.
distribution utility.
The utility.
NYSEG
Yeah.
or
Oh, it'll still come
National
from
Grid,
NYSEG? Okay, I thought it
and
came.
which always has two components. It has the distribution, which will remain the same. The wire
Right,
that
right.
comes to your house is not going
Right.
to change, but the producer of the electricity
Yeah.
will change. And the title at the top of that section of the bill will be whomever this supplier turns
Right.
out to be,
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than
NYSEG.
somebody else.
So the good news on that front is there was legislation that passed 2 years ago that is now finally trickling down to projects that are being built or about to be commissioned. So for NYSEG and National Grid customers in the Solarize program, they will have a consolidated bill. Prior to this point, there's been a very convoluted outside billing system that was
Right.
a little bit challenging to explain. But so everything will be housed in your utility bill. If you have Green Mountain or wind energy or an energy supply company, you can keep that arrangement if you choose to. This is just an additional line item on your utility bill.
Very good. Okay, any other questions or comments about that?
Hi, this is Colleen from Ankrum. We've been working on a Solarize campaign since November, and our load zone is actually Central Hudson. So we're working with Solstice with a similar incentive program like Bruce was talking about, and it's actually gone really well. And most of your utilities are consolidated billing. Unfortunately, Central Hudson is not as of yet, but they're working towards becoming consolidated billing because that's usually the biggest sticking point for a lot of people signing up. They're a little confused about how all this billing works. Why am I getting two bills? That's been a little bit of an issue, but I think they're going to move in fairly short time to consolidated billing, which will make things so much easier. But that's
Great.
it.
Okay, thanks, Colleen.
Yes. So in the Chatham Solarize, there's an incentive going back to the town for every enrollment. And also everybody is having a tree planted in their name by onetreeplanted.org at a national forest. And then the enrollee is actually receiving a sign-on promotion as well.
All right. Dynamite. Okay, thanks.
Right.
Thanks. Anything else? Okay, great. What do we have to say about climate smart communities? Anything from you, David?
Sure, we're having not a big update, but we're having our first county task force meeting on Thursday morning at 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited to kind of kick off that process and see what folks are interested in pushing forward at the county level. There's a lot of activity. I see emails, a lot of activity in the town climate smart committees, like we just heard about. And I think there's a lot of energy in those towns, and they've certainly made a lot of progress in certain towns, even achieving bronze status in some, which is great, in New Lebanon. And so there's a model there for how to work together. And I think there's an opportunity for us to collaborate more broadly. We will be discussing the overarching program, kind of look at priorities for the next 2 years, how we want to function as an organization, and whether and how we can find some funding to hire a sustainability coordinator for the county, which I think is crucial. We all are so busy, and I know I speak for everyone on the call with our day jobs and our lives, that it's hard to dedicate the kind of time it takes to really carry forward substantive work. And that's why the progress in places like New Lebanon, or the work that Kara was just talking about, or Colleen, is so vital, because it's all volunteer driven. But if we can find an extra resource, or find a person to kind of help spearhead this county effort, I think it will help all of these efforts collectively. So that's my main objective is, and we have some conversations going on with various potential funders, and also with CLC as a potential place to house this person. And there's definitely interest on their part. But, we have to see what the task force is interested in pursuing, and that has to then go to the Board of Supervisors. So this has to go through a process. But I think that's key, and that's all I'll say for now. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks. Anybody else in their respective town Climate Smart Communities program? Bill, are you saying something? I can't hear you.
Down there. There it
There
is.
you go.
Okay, I got it. No, we just, our village board, and it wasn't the town, it was on the village side, because I've been on the Climate Smart Community Task Force for the village now for 5 years. We did get the board to pass a resolution and join in a community solar for the municipal buildings, not for the residents. Right now, the resident, they did have a resolution with that joined with Mega for a CCA, but that is kind of on hold now. And what's coming of it, I don't know. So I think Kara's idea may be good for the village. I'm going to try with the town, since now I am the EMC representative. I haven't had a chance to speak to the town board about any of this in any great length, but I will at the next meeting. And as far as the Solarize program, but we do have the village agreed with Nextamp to use community solar for their municipal buildings, and Nextamp plans on initiating the subscription by December, when they finish their subscriptions for the particular farm that they're going to be assigned to.
Uh-huh. And Bill, did the town or village find it a better deal to go with this outfit rather than with Mega?
Well, no, the thing is, the community solar is basically restrict just the municipal buildings themselves. So the
Right.
governmental buildings, the residents we did this last year with Mega. We joined in the Capital Region's CCA,
Right.
which is still kind of on hold because of changes that took place with credits. What do they call David? Can you help me?
Right. But in any, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so we're still waiting to hear from Mega. There's some Zoom conference scheduled early next month, about another week to see what the progress is on that. And that's about all.
Okay, because in this context, Mega is the administrator of the Capital Region CAC.
Right, yeah, and the village is part of that. It includes like Albany, Schenectady, and I believe Niskayuna and Glens Falls, among 10 or 11 other towns that were besides the village here.
Got it. Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah, what Bill is talking about is community choice aggregation.
Yeah.
Where a
Yes.
town, yeah, okay.
CCA, not CAC.
right.
Okay, which is a whole different animal, and there's
Yeah.
It has some hair on the beast, to put it that way.
indeed. Okay. Well, thanks a bunch, Bill, for that. Anything about the Zero Waste Group? I think maybe Kara, that's your department as well? Or
I
not?
saw Christian on the call.
Pardon
No?
me?
Is Christian on the call?
Yes, he is. Or he
Christian,
was
do you
a
wanna-
moment ago. He appeared to be driving at the time, and I don't see his name in the lineup now. Maybe he had to, walk into the house when he got home or something.
Well, I can tell you that the Zero Waste Columbia is working with Claverick Library and the town of Austerlitz. I was going to add in when you asked if anybody from their climate smart town of Austerlitz and particularly Maureen Wilson are working on, they're going to have Cornell Cooperative involved in a composting webinar in May. And I will also send you the date for that in a flyer. I haven't been doing a lot with zero waste over the past months, quite frankly. So that's why I was looking for backup from Christian, but yeah.
Well,
But
Great.
so it looks to be a good lineup. So I'll make sure to get the word out to all of you.
We're part of our climate smart task force. We're trying to hook up with them as do a repair cafe. It's still just planning stages, but we have a few people that are very excited about the idea of the repair cafe. So we're going to try to participate. I don't have any details because it hasn't gone beyond. We like that idea.
Great.
Yeah, so there's some collaboration going on and kind of brainstorming around. And at this point, we really are at a point where we're recruiting fixers for repair cafes kind of across Columbia County. And I think, when you find somebody that's willing to volunteer a day of their life for a New Lebanon repair cafe, they'll likely want to be willing to volunteer a Saturday in Austerlitz or in, wherever it crops up. And so kind of looking for that flow, but looking for fixers right now. So these
I have
are
a great guy, but he hasn't returned my call.
Well,
there's a lot
to
of
underline this for
building
everybody
that
else,
comes
a
from-
fixer that Kara is responding to is a fixer, somebody who is a tinkerer, a home sewer, somebody who likes to fix stuff, perhaps professionally or as an amateur, and enjoys it. And then the repair cafe brings the social aspect to it, where they get to interact across the table with whoever brought their sewing machine or rag doll or whatever, or bicycle in to get repair, and it's a continuous back and forth between the people who have volunteered to repair and those that bring in their broken stuff. Marvelous thing. I'm sorry, Kara, I think I stepped on your line there.
No, you said it perfectly. I mean, there's so many benefits that come from, it's not just about getting your belongings repaired. There's also education, collaboration, meeting your neighbors, sort of it's just community building, and changing the mindset is so important as we try to drive change, is kind of changing the mentality of society, and starting in our communities is the best place to start as far as I'm concerned. So
Great. Okay. How's our health in the county?
Can you hear me?
We can.
My clock is going to start chiming at 7 o'clock.
Oh,
Our
it's
vaccination
5
numbers
minutes.
are down
5 minutes.
lately.
5
in the
minutes
county.
slow.
Oh, there, yeah, it is. You're going to have to wait for that now. Sorry. I knew that was going to happen. I'm having a my screen, it's like everybody is talking, but nobody's, I don't know. It's very strange. It must be the bandwidth here. So we have 13 cases of COVID in the county currently. We've had 2 more fatalities last week. So we're at 93 now total. So it keeps fluxing up and down. We haven't had any large spikes or clusters, but it's just kind of still sticking there. 2 of our 4 contact tracers are leaving today to go down to Ulster County because apparently they're having a bigger surge down there. So they're leaving to help Ulster. We've been having a little bit of a lull in people getting vaccinated. I don't know if that's because of the whole Johnson & Johnson thing in the news. People may be leery now, or it may just be because there's a lot more vaccination sites opening up. In the beginning, it was pretty much just us. So that could be the reason for it too. So we're thinking now we're going to have to start taking that show on the road and go back out into the communities where, people that are in underserved areas or don't have transportation can't get to us. So we're going to be up at the Chatham Fairground. I think May 6th, they're doing a vaccination pod there. We were at the Hudson Fire Station this past Saturday, kind of targeting the Hispanic and the Bengali population, which they're generally a little bit leery of things, but using community leaders that they know and are comfortable with to help kind of pull them in. So we were able to vaccinate about 150 in that community. And there were people can walk in at this point now too. They're just trying to get it out to anybody they can. So there's that. The camps are planning to, a lot of the overnight camps, the large ones, are planning to go ahead and operate this year. So the federal government, CDC, has just come out with some guidance on how to try to do that safely. So we're working with them on that and working with taking our vaccinations down to the campsites to try to vaccinate their staff, because a lot of them are coming in from other states or foreign countries. And so we're going to try to do that a couple weeks ahead of the camps actually starting at the end of June.
Excuse me,
Then we
are you going to let
have-
people from other countries can come in?
Yeah, apparently
Oh,
they can
that's
come
good.
in now and we can
Good.
vaccinate them. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that was a big sticking point last year because no one could come into the country, and that's where a lot of the camps get their staff from over the summer. Like students come over and work for the summer here. So so there's that going on the COVID front. We had a rabid feral cat up in Ghent last week on Garage Place Road. So if you're up in that area, keep your eyes peeled for other critters that might be. There were 5 people exposed to it because someone had picked it up and taken it to a vet, and then everybody was touching it, and it turned out it had rabies. So what else was I going to tell you? There's a I don't know if anybody's heard, there's a septic system replacement program that we're going to be helping to administer, and it's going to be open to folks who live around Copake Lake and also Robinson Pond, and it's I think it's sponsored by DEC in an effort to try to get people who otherwise might not upgrade their septic system because of the cost of it. It's kind of a help. I think they're giving up to $10,000 reimbursement for the replacement of a septic system that may be marginal or needing to be improved, or a larger septic tank, or whatever the situation might be. So people who live in those two areas that they've identified as being at risk for polluting the lakes can submit an application to our department, and we review it, and then they get the work done and submit the receipt, and I guess the money gets reimbursed to them. So there's information on it on DEC's website. So there's that, which is good, and trying to think of what else. I think that was it. We've lost one of our longtime folk festivals in the county, the Falcon Ridge. It was a fairly mass gathering, and they just, there's so many unknowns with COVID that they chose not to operate this year again in the county and as an overnight camping venue.
Sure.
They've been here for 30 some odd years, so that was a big loss. So, yeah, I think that's all I can think of at the moment.
Very good. Thanks, Tara. That
Sure.
not bad at all. In NRI training, we had some activities going on in the training category with a couple of us participating with the CLC and others in getting that ready. Who would like to say a word about that? Let's see, was that, yeah, Barbara, that's right. You're muted, Barbara. There you go, good. Okay, as you were saying. Oh, no, you're still muted. So, your mute button is just blinking off and on. If you you're touching the turn off microphone button. Huh. And then, well, that's a mystery. Let's see. Well, do we have our Oswaldo? Do you have any support on that? Okay. Well, Barbara, perhaps you could send around a note about that after the meeting, and we'll have to resort to actually reading something rather than just listening to it. But to the extent that I've been involved, if I can add a word or two to that, the training program is essentially been developed, and we're ready to incorporate a bunch of people in May, and you'll hear the details of that from Barbara. We have sent around a save the date on that, and remember to point it to members of your town's planning and zoning boards if you have either of those, and other town elected officials who might want to make use of this very powerful tool, the Columbia County Natural Resource Inventory, which in the online version is really a neat tool. So, all right, that's about as much as I had on the agenda. May I see whatever anybody else has to add to the discussion? Were you going to say something, Rick?
I'm looking for it now.
Okay, super.
So following up, sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
Following up on 2 or 3 meetings ago where I offered to reach out to the various nonprofits in the conservation field who might be active in Columbia County. I spoke to Scenic Hudson, and they are focusing their energies on renewable energy siting. And of course, that's a potential issue in Columbia County, as we all know from COPAC. But they're also very interested in working with towns who want to have a community preservation fund, which is where you place a tax, a real estate transfer tax on all house sales or property sales in the town. And you can use that money for open space, historic preservation, stewardship, all sorts of different programs. The real hitch, though, is that you have to get the state legislature to give your town permission.
Right,
So
that's normal.
Yeah, the town of Chatham has that permission. And so I've been working with the town board to gear up and get ready to do an open space plan, which is also one of the prerequisites of being able to have a community preservation fund, where you identify all the properties that you want to protect and how you might protect them, et cetera. So if they're all of Ulster County is approved for it. New Paltz is approved for it, and they just had a referendum and they passed the real estate transfer tax. So New Paltz will be collecting money, which they'll probably use to pay off open space bonding. And then they always are looking to work with towns on the estuary grants as well as greenway grants, if towns have ideas for those. So Scenic Hudson is a resource for Columbia County. Now, they didn't have any specific on the ground projects that they would look for our help with, but you know, I will say that my conversation with the Nature Conservancy was disappointing. Essentially, all I got out of them is that they are working on the Bond Act, the Clean Water and Jobs Bond Act that will be on the ballot statewide this fall. The Governor Cuomo and the legislature put on the ballot. I think it's for $3 billion, if I'm correct. And that's really what they're focused on. And they'd love to get letters of support from towns and counties. And like I said, they didn't really talk about anything specific going on in Columbia County otherwise.
No, that's not really their thing.
Yep.
Okay. Well, great.
And-
Thanks, Todd. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I have Open Space Institute here somewhere too. I just can't. Open Space Institute was talking about a very specific project down in Gallatin. And they're also mapping New England cottontail habitat. I guess the bottom line is it was a nice idea to reach out to them and talk to all of them, but none of them really had any thoughtful engagement opportunities for the EMC. So, except, you know, to write letters of support or get the county board of supervisors to support stuff. Otherwise, they're working directly with the Land Trust, Columbia Land Conservancy, on projects or likewise. So as nice an idea as it wasn't as productive as I hoped it would be.
Well, now we know.
Right.
We wouldn't have known otherwise. Okay, anybody else?
Oh, Michael, can I just add a plug for the Kinderhook Library and the Climate Smart Community in the Village are sponsoring a Meatless Monday program for the second year, starting May 15th. And anyone who wants to participate, it's all voluntary on the honor system, can just contact the library through their website or call into the library and register your name. Hannaford has offered coupons for plant-based foods. The Climate Smart Task Force has some reusable bags that are going to be given away to participants. And some Mascots is going to supply some kind of a prize to a raffle winner at the end, which would be sometime in June. So it's just a plug for us here.
Wonderful. Okay, if you have anything written down about that, could you pass it around?
Sure. Well, I have one of my members is working on a press release we're going to put out, so I'll send it out to everybody here once she gets that finished.
Right. Now, it's a little, I had trouble hearing the name of the program.
It's called a Meatless Monday. So
Ah, very good.
for one day a week, saving the planet.
Well, it's a nice thing to do for a number of
In a
different
little way.
reasons.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and it's easy enough to take care of.
I guess so,
Unless
sure.
you're addicted to McDonald's or something.
Well, I've been having meatless Mondays through Sundays for the last 40 years, so it wouldn't be hard for me. So, anything else?
Hi there.
Please.
This is Kelsey West. I'm filling Terry Mayhew's vacancy as a non-voting member for Cornell Cooperative Extension. And I just wanted to kind of add in there that part of my role with CCE is actually providing municipalities with technical assistance with climate smart communities. So we're provided funding from Hudson River Estuary Program on a yearly basis to help out with actions, specifically the Pledge Element 7 actions. So the enhancing community resilience to climate change. So for the county level, if there are projects in that kind of scope that you're looking to do maybe next year, I'd love to be a resource to maybe discuss some of those with you in the future. So I just kind of wanted to throw that in there.
Wonderful, wonderful. If you could pass your contact information, Kelsey, to me, I'll pass it around the rest of the group so that we know that. And Carol, you had something to say. Carol Smiley.
Yeah.
You're
Hi. I don't know if
not
you all
paying
can see and
attention to
hear
your
me.
raised
Yes.
hand.
Thank you.
Mm.
It's the first time I logged in, so I can see everybody on the screen except me. So I don't know if you all can see me.
Oh yeah, we can see you.
Oh, well, hi. This feels a
You're
little
not
weird.
hiding.
I just wanted to introduce myself. Gallatin just started a CAC, and then they asked, which I'm a member of, and then they asked me to be the new EMC representative for Gallatin, New York. So, hi, team.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
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 Hey, thank you.
I thought it was me that I didn't recognize Carol's. How do you pronounce your last name?
My last name is pronounced Smiley.
Smiley. So I'm like,
Smiley,
I'm just
very
not
good.
paying attention because I don't recognize that name.
Right. Well, this is her first meeting, I think.
Great, great.
Great. Well, all sorts of things going on in this county and around the rest of the state. I've been sending you guys stuff that I'm getting. I'm on a bunch of mailing lists in this regard. And you know, at the state level, the CLCPA, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act that was passed a couple of years ago, has set some very ambitious targets for greenhouse gas reduction and a bunch of other factors that are intended to be accomplished in, you know, like tomorrow, but not really. Actually by now, 9 years from now. So it's going to be a very steep climb. and a bunch of different things are waiting for the committees that were established by the act to finish their report and recommended actions. And the fundamental committee in this is also called CAC, the Climate Action Council, which then has a bunch of topical subcommittees having to do with transportation and housing and other things that I forget the headers of. But essentially, they're meeting on a regular basis with technical staff, trying to work through the data about where we're at and how we're going to get to where we would like to be in a relatively short time. So New York is not the most aggressive in this regard or the most far ahead. We do, however, have one thing in our favor, that our electricity supply at this point is about half renewable. So Niagara Falls and nuclear power and various other things give us kind of a head start on getting to 100%, at least in the electricity sector. And then we have a transportation-related initiative that is a multi-state, 9-state program that New York has suggested that they have an interest in joining, which will involve programs which specifically try and reduce greenhouse gas emissions from transit. And New York is not yet a full member of that program. But that's something that the governor's office is working on, and that will also require some action on the part of the legislature. The other thing that's in the works is a bill that's gotten a lot of attention from Renew New York, who were the primary movers behind the CLCPA 2 years ago, or New York Renews rather, which is a bill intended to fund a lot of these programs, which would impose a carbon tax on wholesale level fuel transactions within New York State. So mostly at the level of home heating oil and wholesale level gasoline and what was the other one? And natural gas transfers. So that's in the works. It is, we only have 6 weeks left in the legislative session. So it's something that I would recommend people educate themselves if they're interested in thinking about where we can plug in to some of this stuff as individuals, because letters to our our respective legislators and so forth can make a difference in how these things move forward. I and a couple of other members of the Citizens Climate Lobby will be meeting with the governor's office tomorrow morning. And so we'll hear a bit more about what the governor's office thinks still might have some leverage. And we're asking, where can we help push the program along so that we can achieve some of these ambitious goals, especially the local carbon tax, which is something that has been a favorite topic of ours for some years now.
Michael,
Sir.
Is this similar to the federal bill that CCL has been backing, where the tax revenues will be earmarked for specific remediation or the like?
Well, the bill at the federal level that that is our favorite bill at the federal level does not have any earmarkings. It just says bring in the money and send it out. So you bring in $1 billion, you divide that by the amount of households in the United States and do electronic transfers, and boom, you're done. The one in New York State allocates 40% of the money for specific projects. So mass transit, building renovation, et cetera, et cetera. With some of that being in return, some subset of that being earmarked for disadvantaged communities. And the rest of it would be distributed here in New York State. But because it's not the entire amount, it would be income qualified. So people below a certain income would get a check, but not everybody.
Right.
So,
Well, that makes some sense, because at the wholesale level, they're just going to pass the cost along to the retail buyers. So.
oh, of course. And so the fundamental principle that we've always held to is that you have to make the retail consumer, especially at the low and middle income ranges, whole. Not that they have to submit a receipt for their last gasoline purchase, but that they will calculated be getting an amount which will, in our bill's case, more than reimburse them, so to speak, for the typical embodied fossil fuel expenses, which, by the way, are not typically things like electricity and gas. It's all the stuff that we buy, which has been made or shipped or retailed using fossil fuels. So, yeah, David, you had something?
Yeah, I don't know the exact schedule for public comment. Maybe someone else does. Maybe you do, Michael. But the draft plan, I believe, will be coming out soon, and or draft recommendations from the advisory, and there'll be a public comment period. I remember hearing it will be quite extensive, going throughout the entire. And I think that could be an opportunity for us as an organization to pull together our thoughts and provide some written comments. We could also elevate those comments as recommendations to the Board of Supervisors and potentially have something come from the county more officially as to our position. But just to kind of go through the advisory panels real quick: agriculture and forestry, energy efficiency and housing, energy intensive and trade exposed industries, land use and local government, power generation, transportation, and waste advisory. So there's a lot is germane. Sarah.
Just in full disclosure, this is what I've been spending. I'm actually on. I actually chaired in my day job, chaired the Land Use and Local Government Advisory Panel. And I'll be, and as of May, the next meeting, I'm going to be the Secretary of State's designee on the Climate Action Council. So I am intimately involved in this, and I obviously can't participate in any commenting or anything like that. But I can tell you that the half of the advisory panels did submit their recommendations to the Climate Action Council at the last meeting, which was last Monday, I believe. So those should be posted on climate.ny.gov. Comments can be submitted at any time by email. The next 3 advisory panels will be presenting, including me, May 10th. Those are all-day meetings. They're pretty long and difficult, especially on especially on Zoom. But there is that's next month. No, the Monday after next, May 10th. So that's when those recommendations will be presented in June. We'll be presenting from the Land Use and Local Government Advisory Panel some adaptation and resilience recommendations as well. But after all those recommendations are submitted, there's a process of integrating all the recommendations, ensuring there's no, and the Climate Action Council then starts the work of drafting the plan. But it is the draft plan should be released the end of this year, and there'll be an entire year after that of sort of public public input. There's public input all along the process, and every meeting is open to the public. I would encourage everyone to check out climate.ny.gov, which is where all of the updated information is. And to the extent that it's informational stuff open, available to the public, I'm glad to share with folks whatever I can.
Sarah, you never fail us.
I just do what I
So-
do.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Sarah. I hope I didn't butcher the idea too much.
No, you got it just right.
Summary.
You and Dave both have it exactly right. And I'm
Fair.
super
All right.
glad that people are paying attention.
Yeah, it's a very important time. Sarah, just to clarify, is the opportunity, I know that you can attend as a member of the public, the advisory
Mhm.
groups and raise your certain times and make comments, but did I hear you correct that there are some written preliminary recommendations that would be presented in June, but those are now on the website, and those advisory panels are accepting public comment on those? Or
Yeah,
not?
I mean, technically, the advisory panels are pretty much, they're technically done their work and have delivered recommendations. I think they're probably still going to they'll still be involved because people want to be, they're stakeholders who are very engaged, but I'm just looking at the website to see hang on one second, to see if things are actually posted. If you go to the climate.ny.gov, those recommendations, and you go to, at the top, there's advisory panels, and then New York Climate Action Council, and then Climate Justice Working Group. Oh, that's something else. There's also the Climate Justice Working Group and the Just Transitions Working Group. Both of those groups are also advising and advising the Climate Action Council on how to address those two important issues across the board. But if you go to those headings, like advisory panel or Climate Action Council, you can find meetings and materials, and that's where that stuff is posted. So if you look at I'm looking to see it was April 12th. If you look at under Climate Action Council at their Monday, April 12th meeting, you'll see the recommendations for ag and forestry, waste, the energy intensive and trade exposed industries. I never get that name right. And then Just Transition presented as well. So those presentations are all posted there.
Oh, that's
And
great.
comments can be submitted written at any time. There's an email address, which I can, where is it? There's an email address. I don't remember what it is, but it's on the website someplace.
No, that correct me where that's perfect. Thank you.
But if anyone can't find anything on the website and is looking for some information, let me know. I can probably direct you there.
Great. Thanks so much. So, anybody else? All right. Well, I think we've had a full meeting here. I'm happy to have such a good attendance. We have several new members, a couple of whom have introduced themselves. So let's keep up the good work and call for an adjournment here. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, so moved. Great. Okay, and David. Okay, David seconded himself. All right. Thanks, everybody. I think that'll call it a day. Good
Thanks.
night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.